Good afternoon and welcome to the hottest talk show radio on the internet. This is Agents for Change Radio, where we do radio with a different style. I'm your host, Rob Bell, and today we're going to take on some topics that are prevalent in the black community, and in particularly we're going to continue to talk about this issue of violence and how it is destroying our community. And if we don't come up with some solutions quickly, we're going to see ourselves in situations where the members of our community are going to slowly be dwindling. And so as I thought about this today, and as I continue to think about it, one of the things that struck me was my college days. I went to college at a HBCU in the late 70s, and it was probably one of the most rewarding experiences I've had to date. And the reason why I say that is because as young black students, we were aware of world affairs and issues that were occurring around us, and in particularly in our communities. And we set out to try to at least make other people aware of what was happening by protesting on our campus. And not only the black students on our campus, but black students in most of the HBCUs around the country. And so, we were active as young people and had some care and some concern about what was going on. And it just seems to me that the young people today are so nonchalant and self-absorbed and self-centered and, have no concern about what's going on around them and in the country, that they don't even want to tackle this issue of violence. Even the black students from HBCUs of today don't seem to even want to tackle this problem. And I find that a little disconcerting because they are supposed to be our future. They're supposed to be some of our most intellectual and intelligent young people. But by the same token, they're not bringing anything to the table. One of the things that I've always talked about, and I've worked with young people for a large part of my career, and one of the things that I always kind of blew my horn about was the fact that we as adults always want to come to the table and come up with these solutions as to how we can help young people, but very rarely do we bring young people to the table to try to listen to them and have them give us some ideas and some solutions as to how we can help them. Well, I don't get the feeling that they even want to come to the table because they're more concerned about what's happening on Facebook. They're more concerned about posting their pictures on Instagram. They're more concerned about sending personal messages out on Twitter. And this issue that's plaguing us in our community, and although it's not personally affecting them, and maybe that's the problem, they are not trying to help us come up with any solutions. And if the young people don't want to come to the table and help us come up with any solutions, and the older people like myself and people who are in positions of power that work in local government, state government, and people who we elected to go to Washington to help us resolve this problem are not doing anything about it, then what are we to do? We're in a situation where down here in Atlanta, Georgia, where I'm at right now in my studio, violence is getting totally out of control. When I first moved down here 4 years ago, it was nowhere near where it is now in terms of the incidents of violence that continue to occur on a daily basis. As you all know, I'm from Philadelphia and keep Philadelphia near and dear to my heart. And my partner in crime, Scott Bell, the other agent for change, we constantly communicate about what's going on up there. And, one of the reasons why we came up with this show was to give people out there in the internet world an opportunity to at least get some information from us from a different perspective other than the news or what they read in the newspaper, because that's a bit convoluted, because that's always surrounded by selling newspapers or selling ads so that they can make money. Well, we try to keep it as real as we can on, the Agent for Change radio show, again, where we do radio with a different style. And we try to provide people with information that hopefully they can use. And so, in Philadelphia to date, they're up to over 300 homicides. And they had all of 499 all of last year. And it's, July 19th. And they have, I think, about 310 homicides as of today. So they're obviously going to break that record. And I'm not understanding what is fueling this fire. I sort of have an understanding of what's fueling the fire. And it has a lot to do with the attitude of some of the people that live in situations where they're just unhappy, where they're just angry, where there's just no love in their life. And if you have no love in your life, if you don't care about your fellow man, if you don't care about the next person, if your economic situation is horrible, if your personal lifestyle is bad, if you are hungry every day, if you don't have a roof to sleep under, if you don't have a significant other or family in your life, you can be angry. And the anger kind of transcends itself into you being a violent person, and then you add handguns to the mix, and it just exasperates the situation more than it needs to be, and the result is what we have today. And so when you look at all those aspects and issues that I brought up, how can we help tackle some of these problems and get people to a point where we try to change their attitudes? If we look at young people, is it too late for the young black man between the age of 18 and 25 to kind of save them? Is it too late for them? And if so, do we ratchet it down a notch and start to look at the young black boys between the ages of 10 and 12 and try to educate them as to what they should be doing and what they should not be doing to try to squash some of this violence? This is not going to be an easy solution, and it's not going to be a solution that's going to occur overnight. And so we're going to have to really knock our heads against the wall and try to figure this out, not only for a solution today, but for a long-term solution. This is, not new to the black community. And again, I go back to attitude, because, the apathetic attitude and nonchalant attitude that black people have in our community is this. What's the big deal? We live in the hood, and living in the hood brings on this issue of violence. We've been living with this for decades and decades, and it's nothing new. And just because the numbers are increasing doesn't make it any different. Well, I beg to differ, because the numbers that are increasing is a situation where it's akin to what happened to us really down here in the South, when we were being lynched and we were being burnt, and we had to live under the Jim Crow law, where we were not even looked at as being citizens. We were looked at as being animals. And, we had to fend for ourselves more than we ever had. We had to fight for everything that we have today. And not that is a whole hell of a lot better, but it kind of really is, but it could be worse. But our biggest enemy is ourselves. When back in the day down here, and even in some other parts of the country, our biggest enemy was people on the other side of the fence. Now, all we're doing is doing their dirty work for them. We are killing each other. You can't cry about skinheads. You can't cry about Ku Klux Klan members. You can't cry about hate groups in terms of they want us killed. They try to kill us on a daily basis. We got cops out there killing us. We got other people out there trying to take our lives away from us when we don't even care about ourselves. You know, we do more killing of ourselves than any cop, any Ku Klux Klan member, any skinhead, or any hate group that's out there today. Because we're doing it every single day. The cops are not continuing to come in and kill us. Klan members are not coming into our communities and killing us. Hate groups are not coming into our communities and killing us. We're living in our communities and killing us. And so we have to take a hard look at that in terms of our attitudes and figure out what we're going to do to try to stop this. You know, they had a situation last week in Philadelphia where they were asking people to bring their guns in and turn guns in. I think they got over 100 guns. And I said, that's a great program, but this is the problem. Criminals are not turning in their guns. Law-abiding citizens and people who want to really add to trying to eradicate or even stop the violence are the people that's turning in their guns. And to be honest, 100 guns, that's great, but it ain't a whole lot because there are more guns out there than there are people. And young people can get their hands on guns faster than you can shake a stick at yourself. And so, you know, that's a Band-Aid, and it sounds good, and it's a great press release, but the reality of it is that's not going to really do make a whole hell of a lot of a difference. But it's a start. I won't down it. I won't say it's not a good idea. It's a start. But we got to come up with some other things to try to help us get better with this. You know, if we look at where we are with this, and we look at history, we're going backwards. And there's no way that we're supposed to be going backwards. We're supposed to be going forward. And, you know, what really bothers me is during the time of the presidential election, there were more candidates out there running for different types of offices that were talking about this kumbaya. Racism is prevalent. We need to eradicate it. We need to come up with how we're going to all live together in peace and harmony, and let's, you know, try to stop living the way that we're living. And all we need you to do is come out and vote for us. Well, you know, we came out and we voted for everybody we thought would try to put us in a situation where things were going to be better for us. But more importantly, we tried to vote number 45 out of office, and that was our main concern. What we forgot about is the fact that the people who were voting into office, what did they really have to offer us as black people to help us try to turn around some of the social ills that we have to deal with in our community? And the number one social ill is the violence. I don't hear anybody from Washington doing anything about what we are going through in our communities, not just in Atlanta or Philadelphia, Chicago, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, California, Seattle, Washington, Miami, Florida, Baltimore, Maryland, Wilmington, Delaware, Newark, New Jersey. You know, the beat in Houston, Texas, the beat goes on. Every major city in the United States is experiencing violence on a catastrophic level, and nobody from Washington is even addressing this. And I know we're in a pandemic, and I know the pandemic is associated and connected with economics and the economy and getting the economy back on board and getting people back to work so that we can get this so-called economic juggernaut back to churning and burning so people can start making money. I understand how that works, but in conjunction with that, we need to start looking at how we can fix some of the social ills that are going on in our community, and again, in particularly the black community. You know, I hate to keep sounding like a broken record, but nobody seems to care that we are killing each other at record levels. Because why? Oh, it's just black people. That's what they do. They don't know how to act. And so why should we care about them when they don't even care about themselves? And I got to tell you, behind closed doors, I'll bet you that is the mantra that we hear. We have a vice president who is a woman of color, and not one time have I heard her get on the podium on TV or on the radio and say, you know, hey, it's my people too, and I'm going to try to make an effort to do what I have to do from Washington standpoint to try to help as many people as I possibly can. You're pulling people out of Afghanistan, and so you should be saving money in on that level. You're taxing people up the wazoo, supposedly the rich. You should have some money on that level. How come none of that money is being trickled down to people of color and people in our communities? We're talking about building infrastructure. We're talking about providing people with checks every month who have children to try to help with poverty, and that's all well and good, but there's no campaign to say that we're going to stop the violence. There's been campaigns about the AIDS epidemic. There was a campaign about COVID-19. There's a campaign about the flu. There was a campaign about the bird flu when that first came out. And, we told people, use a condom, practice safe sex, wear your mask, stop hanging around in large crowds, and practice social distancing. That got drummed into our head on a daily basis. But what's not being drummed into our head on a daily basis is put the guns down. Stop fighting each other. Stop killing each other. We don't hear not one commercial, not one ad, not one anything about the violence that's occurring in our community. When are we going to, take this serious? Because nobody's taking it serious but me. Or you know what? I shouldn't say that. There are a lot of people who are taking it serious, but there's not enough people who are taking it serious. And I take it kind of personal, and I know I get a little out of pocket when I say some of the things that I say, but I'm going to be an agent for change, and I'm going to take some leadership on this, and I'm going to continue to harp about it and talk about it on a daily basis. If you've been looking at my Facebook page, all you see is stop the violence, stop the violence, stop the violence, and I'm going to continue post things about stopping the violence. Why? Because this is my personal campaign to get this done. I got another show called the Agents for Change Network where I do video, and I am going to bring special guests in every day and talk about what we can do to help try to squash some of the violence, because I just don't want to harp on the fact that there is violence. I want to start talking about what can we come up with in terms of some solutions to help stop some of this stuff. And so I'm just a one-man show. I know that there's more strength in numbers, and if I can bring more people in to kind of give me and give us an opportunity to see what kind of solutions we can come up with, then maybe we can take it a step further and get somebody to really start paying attention to us and maybe incorporate some of the stuff that we talk about and help try to solve some of these problems. My name is Rob Bell. This is Agents for Change Radio, where we do radio with a different style. We're going to continue to provide you with this information, and we'll see you next time.